What's good, y'all? It is now time for the elimination round of the NBA Cup games. I don't know about you guys, but I've been a big fan of the NBA Cup. Last season, it was super interesting to watch in its inaugural season. And now this year, it definitely seems like players, I don't know if they care more or what it is, but the intensity definitely is there. It seems like it's more than a regular season game. So I've been enjoying watching it, but I'm most excited for these elimination rounds. So in this video, I'm going to talk about all 4 matchups of the first round, give my breakdown, and then give my prediction on who I think will move on. For those of you who don't know, the Elite 8 that are left in on the Eastern Conference, we have the Milwaukee Bucks, New York Knicks, Atlanta Hawks, and the wild card Orlando Magic. And then on the Western Conference side, we have the OKC Thunder, the Houston Rockets, the Golden State Warriors, and then the wild card Dallas Mavericks. So let's just jump right into it and start off with the first game that's going to be played later today. When you guys see this video, it is going to be the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Orlando Magic. If I'm being honest, this is probably the game I am least excited for, but I still think it's going to be a pretty solid game. And I just feel like this game, it doesn't interest me as much because these two teams seem like they're kind of going away from each other. The Milwaukee Bucks started off really rough this season, started super low, and then they slowly have been working their way back up. They've gotten on a little bit of a win streak. In their last 10 games, they're 8-2, so they're kind of getting back up to level, up to par, if you will. While the Orlando Magic started off super high. Paolo got hurt. We thought it was going to go down, but then Franz just kept them rising. And then unfortunately Franz got hurt, so now I expect them to go on a little bit of a decline. And honestly, if the Magic were fully healthy, I probably would be really excited to watch this game because the Magic have been a great watch throughout the season. Without those two guys, though, I don't know if they're going to have the offense to keep up with guys like Dame and Giannis. Giannis has been the second best player in the whole league and the whole world this season, right behind Nikola Jokic. He's just been a dominant force, leading the league in points per game. You know the rebounds are going to be there. Career high in assists, shooting 61% from the field. Like, he literally has been unstoppable. And then when you pair that with Damian Lillard, who has becoming more of a steady presence on the Milwaukee Bucks. Starting off this season, he was very up and down, where he'd have a great game, then a horrible game, great game, horrible game. He has been pretty consistently having solid games for the last few games now. Ever since really coming back from his concussion, he's been back on track. Playmaking, 3-point shots there. When those two are at the peak of their powers playing together, they're one of the most deadly duos in the NBA. And when you're missing your top 2 duo, I mean, it really doesn't compare. Shout out to the Magic, though, because they do have that next man up mentality where, like I said, Paolo went down, then Franz stepped up and had great games. And then even with their role players, guys like Tristan da Silva, who started a few games, Goga Bitadze has been having some really good games, Jalen Suggs, Anthony Black, they have these guys that are ready to step up, and they have the depth to be able to still put real NBA players out on the court. But like I said, I mean, I don't have too much faith in Jalen Suggs and Mo Wagner to keep up scoring with Giannis and Dame. The Magic have their defense that they can always fall back on, so they will have a puncher's chance in pretty much any game. But when you have to defend Giannis and Damian Lillard, you're going to need a little bit more than a puncher's chance. This is definitely the game that I'm least excited for out of the first round. I do think the Milwaukee Bucks should handily defeat the Orlando Magic. Like I said, I just really don't think they have the offense to keep up with the Bucks. So I have the Bucks moving on. And right after that game in the doubleheader, we have OKC versing off against the Dallas Mavericks. And funny enough, this is probably the game that I am most excited for. We have a rematch of the Western Conference semifinals from last season. The number 1 seed versus the number 4 seed. So 2 powerhouses of this great Western Conference. And then to add a little bit of fold on top of that, we get to see the new additions of both of these teams. I feel like it's safe to say that the Thunder and the Mavericks are both better than what they were last season. Of course, with OKC bringing in guys like Isaiah Hartenstein and Alex Caruso, and then the Mavericks bringing in Klay Thompson, Quentin Grimes, Najee Marshall, I definitely think both these teams have elevated. And then also, they kind of are similar in a ways where they both are defensive oriented. They both have great star power. I'm just all around super excited to see this matchup. And when you talk about the differences between the two from last time when they met in the playoffs, obviously with OKC, they bring in Isaiah Hartenstein, who just is coming back relatively recently from injury. But while he's in the lineup, the Thunder are 7-1, almost undefeated. They have looked amazing, and Isaiah Hartenstein has looked amazing. He kind of just adds an extra fold into this offense because obviously you're always going to have Shea give you your ISO possessions, get into the rim, get into the mid-range, all of that. You're going to have J-Dub doing a little bit of the same with his pull-ups and all of that, you know, self-created offense. But when you add Isaiah Hartenstein into the mix, he is able to play off both of those guys perfectly as a role player, but then also they play through him on offense sometimes where he's just at the top of the key running his DHOs or just kind of scanning, looking for cuts and making those passes like that. He's even had some attacks off the dribble, which we didn't see in New York, but OKC seems to be empowering him a little bit more, and especially with Chet Holmgren out for this foreseeable future, Isaiah Hartenstein has stepped up and looked amazing in that starting lineup and with all of these other guys. And then obviously defensively, OKC is just an absolute monster, and they have bodies on bodies to throw at Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. Guys like Lou Dort, Alex Caruso, J-Dub, Cason Wallace, Shea, you know, they could just literally throw any combination of those guys at those two main ball handlers for Dallas, and it's going to be very difficult to score. They just have so many switchable athletes and bodies to just throw around on defense, and that is why they are the #1 defense in the NBA. It's for a reason there. They play super aggressive. They play super together. Their rotations are intact. They are a very disciplined team offensively and defensively, so it's going to take a lot for Dallas. But ever since coming back from injury, Luka Doncic has been back to Luka Doncic. You know, he started off the season looking a little sluggish, as he normally does, but it seems like he's finally getting back on track to his MVP level, his near 30-point triple-double a night type of performances. We're seeing a lot more of those. And when you add Luka like that to Kyrie, who's having one of the most efficient seasons of his career, which is insane to say about Kyrie Irving, they obviously are one of the hardest duos to guard in the NBA. Like I said though, OKC does have the tools to try. But the main difference with Dallas this season is they are getting a little bit more from their role players, like Klay Thompson being there. He's giving them some more scoring from what they got from their role players in the OKC playoff series from last season. Quentin Grimes has been on a tear recently. Najee Marshall has been showing himself. PJ Washington, especially defensively, has looked great. They're getting a little bit... Spencer Dinwiddie, sorry, I didn't want to forget about Spence. He's looked pretty good off their bench as well. But they're getting a lot more from the guys other than Luka and Kyrie, and getting a little bit more offense and spacing from those guys. But it's just a little bit harder to just throw the whole kitchen sink at Luka and Kyrie and say, have someone else beat us, because you don't have Derrick Jones Jr. on the corner anymore. You have Klay Thompson, you have Quentin Grimes. You know, these guys will knock down that shot. They will drive the closeout and make a play from there. You know, I don't think it's going to be as simple as what it looked like in the playoffs. But with all that being said, I honestly do think that this is going to be a very close game, a very entertaining game. The Mavs have a great defense, but the OKC Thunder have a smothering defense, and I really think that's what the differential between these two teams are. I think OKC's defense is well more equipped to guard Dallas than Dallas is to guard OKC. So for that reason, I do think it's going to be close, but I do have OKC winning this one. Now back over to the Eastern Conference. The other matchup there is the New York Knicks versus the Atlanta Hawks. This should be a pretty fun one, not only just because I am a Knicks fan, so obviously I'm going to be tuned into this, but also the Trae Young rivalry there between the Hawks and New York. The whole, you know, F Trae Young stuff in MSG. You know, there might be a little bit more rekindlement here from this in this game. You know, obviously if Trae Young, if he hits a game winner and you know, they eliminate the Knicks, it's definitely going to be a re-spark of that rivalry. But either way, the crowd's going to be into it. You know, Trae Young likes to play that villain role. It should be a very fun game. And honestly, when you look at the Knicks, they have the offensive firepower to really compete with anyone on any given night. What really concerns me, or what's really the X factor, if you want to say it like that, for this game is the defense. It depends on which Knicks team shows up. If it's the team that wants to play defense, or the team that just will let you walk to the paint. Mikal Bridges just had a quote the other day where he said the Knicks seem like they pick and choose when they want to play defense, and he said great teams don't do that. They play defense all the time. And obviously, I don't think the Knicks go into a game saying, you know what guys, we're not playing defense today. That's it. We're deciding we're not going to play it. That's not how it goes, but when you watch the games, it does seem like on one night, they're super locked in, the rotations are there, they're playing as a team, forcing turnovers, all of that good stuff. And then the next night, you have Cade Cunningham just moonwalk into the paint. Like there's got to be some type of consistency and some type of balance there. If you're showing us you can play defense, you need to do that on every given night, show effort. And if the Knicks don't, I mean, Trae Young will eat up that drop coverage in the pick and roll. He will just throw lobs, hit his little floaters, kick out to the corner. He will eat it up alive for sure. He is one of the best pick and roll players in the NBA. So the Knicks are going to have to lock in. Mikal Bridges, you're going to have to fight over screens. Cat, you're going to have to move your feet. OG, you got to be in help defense, ready to protect the rim. You know, all of this stuff, we have to work as a team. The Knicks have to work together on defense. The offense, like I said, I don't really worry about that. That'll be there on any given night. It just depends on if they want to defend. And they definitely have to take this game serious because the Hawks have kind of been giant slayers this game or this season. They've beaten the Cleveland Cavaliers twice, the Boston Celtics once, the Knicks already they've beaten earlier this season, the Milwaukee Bucks. A lot of this top tier Eastern Conference teams they have been able to beat. And I like the brand of basketball that they play. They play fast, they first force turnovers, and they move the ball. I made a whole video talking about the Atlanta Hawks not too long ago, so I won't go too in-depth here. But they just kind of leaned in a little bit more on Trae Young's heliocentric style and just let him kind of distribute the ball, surround him with athletes and shooters, and it's working out very well. A lot of high-intensity defense, too, from guys like Dyson Daniels and Jalen Johnson. Even DeAndre Hunter off their bench, he's gotten great scoring while still being a solid defender. Zachary Ricochet, too, I don't want to forget him. He's looked great defensively with his length. You know, they really built this team more around Trae Young and a better fit around Trae Young. With all that being said, I could definitely see this being a blowout win for the Knicks, but I do think that the Hawks are to be taken seriously, and I don't think they're going to just roll over. I think this is going to be a close one, but I have the Knicks pulling it out. And last but not least, we have the Houston Rockets versing off against the Golden State Warriors. I'm pretty excited for this matchup too because they've had some good battles already this season. The first one that comes to mind is earlier in the year where the Rockets were down 31 points and in the second half came all the way back to force overtime. Ended up losing that game. Golden State pulled it out, but still it was a super fun watch. Even then the other night they played Golden State again and it was a close game. Shout out Jonathan Kuminga, he had a crazy game there. But I'm hoping that we get a little bit more of that intensity and that closeness in this upcoming game. Both teams are pretty similar when you look at them. They both are really great defenses with kind of shaky to solid offenses at best. And they both rely heavily on their depth where pretty much on any given night it could be anyone's night. For example, when you look at the Rockets in their 31-point comeback, that was mainly fueled by Tari Eason and Amen Thompson. But on any given night, you can have a 30-point game from Jalen Green. Fred VanVleet can give you 6 threes. Şengün can give you like 25 and 6 assists on top of that. But honestly, I think the X factor is Alperen Şengün, depending on if he can punish the Warriors for being a much smaller team than the Rockets with his rebounding, with his post presence. You know, he is a super solid, big body guy down there. Or if it's going to work in the reverse and work in favor for the Warriors, who usually run like a Draymond Green or even a Kyle Anderson has been getting some center minutes, where they go with that small ball, run that dribble handoffs on the perimeter, make Alp, guard in space. I don't know which way it's really going to sway, but I definitely think that Alp is the X factor there. But when you look across the court, you have Stephen Curry, who is the Rockets killer. It seems like he's been dominating the Rockets for his whole career now, definitely the last like damn near decade at this point. And then also he is by far the best player in this, I was going to say series, but in this elimination game. When you look in the playoffs, that's usually the main like putting over the edge type of thing where you look at who has the best player. Usually that team's going to win. Steph Curry definitely fits that in this single elimination game. He is by far the best player. The Rockets have pretty good personnel to guard Steph Curry, though. They have those bigger body guys like an Amen Thompson or a Dylan Brooks that they can throw at Steph to really make him work. If they want to downsize a little bit and get someone more Curry size but still kind of big, they have stocky Fred VanVleet. You know, he's still strength if they want to get a little bit more physical with Steph. This should be a pretty fun one. Both these teams are great defensively, so it might be a rock fight, but it should be a fun rock fight if that is what it is. I do think it's going to be a close one here. I could go either way, but I think the Rockets are going to get their revenge here. I think that this is some of the most intense basketball that a lot of these players have played. I think they're going to be super motivated, super energetic, and I think that they're going to pull this one away from the Warriors. And those are my final predictions for this first round. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to the channel too, because I will be dropping these videos for the second round, for the finals, and then also just dope NBA videos throughout the whole season. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave it a like, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. In the description, there's links to all my social medias, so make sure you follow me on all those to keep up to date with me. Catch y'all.